What if there were 15 questions that you and your fiance could align yourselves on before your wedding day that would ensure a deeply connected marriage? Would you be interested? And for you married folks, stay tuned and see how you score on these questions and where you stand in your marriage today and what could you possibly work on. Stay tuned to the end and I'll share one concept that helps you overcome most hardships that you might encounter in your marriage. And I'll also show you how you can have your own personal marriage mentor. For the best marriage advice, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified when we post a new video every Wednesday. Hi, my husband and I co-founded Intentional Marriages. We've led over 100 couples through an incredible marriage curriculum created by our North Point Community Church, as well as leading engaged couples through a premarital curriculum. Okay, ready to dive into these questions? Number 1, faith journey. Now, maybe you're not active right now and that is not a top priority and you're thinking, yeah, we're good on that. We don't need to really worry about it. But we have found with couples that once they have their first child, that there is a significant shift and typically people will resort back to what they grew up with. So it's important that you discuss what and how you might approach your faith journeys. And most importantly, make sure that you're aligned, because this is one arena where if somebody was strong and wanted to have more of a spiritual intimacy with their partner and the other partner didn't want to, it's a place where you can end up on parallel paths and create some conflict down the road. So make sure you align on your faith journeys. Okay, number 2. Are you willing to go to a counselor or work with marriage mentors? It's really important to know that your partner is willing to look at themselves, because a marriage, a lifelong marriage of them pointing the finger always at you is going to be extremely difficult. So as much as you need to be able to look at yourself, you want your partner to have the kind of character who will look at their own faults, their own responsibilities, their own actions that they bring to the relationship. Okay, number 3. This can be a very polarizing topic, joint versus separate accounts. Now, when you got married, you agreed to become one in all aspects, and that should include your money. Working on combining your money requires a lot of compromise, a lot of conversation. Yes, there's sometimes conflict, but if you're working together as one, especially in the beginning, you'll have less arguments down the road. And one other huge task that Russ and I do now every day, we used to do it every month and then we did it every week and now we do it every day, is to track our expenses. And you're thinking, wow, track them every day? That seems really excessive. And I thought so too when we were going to move to doing it every day, and it only takes us less than 2 minutes every day to do that. No kidding, just 2 minutes. And we are on the same page about our expenses. And there's nothing better than having financial intimacy where you feel like you're on the same page with your spouse when it comes to money. Okay, number 4, debt, another huge topic. Get to know your partner and whether they're a saver or a spender. Do they like to pay off their credit card every month, or are they comfortable carrying a balance? It's really important to know and align yourself with how you are and how you will spend money moving forward. Be sure to share all the debts. Don't let that be a secret that you share after you get married.
I know about the money.
But share all your debts up front and do your best to wipe them out before you get married. Even though I went into my marriage debt-free, I still made a huge mistake, and I'm going to blame it on the love fog. You can see more about that story here in this video. Number 5, savings, investments, and life insurance. What are your long-term goals and your priorities? How much money do you want to have in your savings that would make you feel comfortable every month? What kind of life insurance and what kind of coverage do you need? And investing, are you a risk taker or are you more conservative? It's important to know all these different aspects now so that you can align yourself and be that much stronger in your marriage. Okay, number 6, number of children and your parenting style. So when Russ and I got married, we became a blended family. We talked about having a third, and I know our daughter right now is like, yeah, thanks a lot for not having a third. But I do remember she said, if you have a boy, we'd have to send it back. So yeah, that wasn't going to happen. She wanted a little sister. And even if this is going to be your first marriage, talking about how many kids, and this is a topic that most couples discuss and agree on. And be sure to know what your partner thinks about adoption and IVF. Sometimes those have to become the alternatives in order to grow your family. Number 7, does your fiance have a heart of humility? Are they willing to apologize and ask for forgiveness? Will they share when they're wrong and be willing to take responsibility for their actions? Obviously, this is really important that both people are willing to do this. Number 8, boundaries and guardrails. Now, this can be a polarizing topic, so hang in there with me. When Russ and I started getting more serious with our dating, we implemented some boundaries and guardrails that we had with members of the opposite sex. So one of my first encounters was I was in sales and I was working in Puerto Rico, and typically the sales rep and I would go in the same car and drive to the appointment. Well, this was a male sales rep, and I asked him if he wouldn't mind driving his own car. Now, mind you, this was a 2-hour drive to see the client. And I asked him if he wouldn't mind driving his car while I drove my rental car. And I was waiting for him to roll his eyes and be like, what the heck, don't we need to talk about our appointment before we get there? And it just was weird, right? It's a very weird request that no one does. And I'm so grateful that he was the first person that I had tested this out on, because his response was, I don't remember if it was his girlfriend or his wife, but his response was, wow, I wish my girlfriend would do the same. Or maybe it was his wife. I wish my wife would do the same. And I was like, oh, thank you. It was my first person that I had asked, and I was so grateful to get such a positive response. Russ was also doing the same with his sales calls, that he would not ride in the car by himself with a gal. And it was fine if there was more people, but he wouldn't ride in the car by himself with another woman. He wouldn't have lunch with another woman by himself. But again, a group setting was fine. But we put these boundaries in place and have kept them in place for the life of our marriage. And it's not that there was anything wrong with driving in the car with that other person, with the member of the opposite sex. It's wanting to set the boundary lines further back than necessary, right? So instead of standing on the edge, it's easy to get comfortable with a member of the opposite sex friend. It's easy to start sharing more than you should. It's easier for them to have a bad evening with their spouse and want to talk about it. And it's just easier and easier. No one wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm going to have an affair. No one does that. But what happens is there's baby steps that get to that point where then that eventual line is crossed. So instead of standing on the very edge, Russ and I have chosen to stand way back. We are really big about boundaries and guardrails. If you'd like to learn more about our position, there's a blog link below that you can read. Number 9, giving back. So what will you do in terms of giving back? I grew up with my parents tithing and giving money to the local church. I have some friends that give back by serving in the community. Find out which way and how you will give back, and something that you both align in doing the same. So number 10, hobbies and free time. For Russ and I, one of the best ways for us to wind down is to take a long walk. And it's a time where we can reconnect, ask each other how we're doing, talk about our future hopes and dreams, talk about the kids, and just share life together. So taking our long walks is one of our favorite things to do together. It's okay to have different hobbies and do different things on your free time, but make sure that you have some shared hobbies to help unite you together. Number 11, chores, cleaning, cooking. Find out what your expectations are. I thought Russ was going to help me fix things in the house, And he said, before we got married, he goes, I don't fix things. So we get married, the toilet breaks, and I'm like, surely he can help out with the toilet, right? So I asked him to help out with the toilet, and guess what? The toilet got broken even worse. I'm like, how is that possible? He told me early on, he does not fix things. And that's why I've had to learn to find a handyman husband. So just be sure you understand your expectations, whether you both like to cook or one cooks, one cleans. Just make sure you're aligned and understand and have those desires shared up front so that you're not getting angry when there's socks on the floor or dishes in the sink. Number 12, vacations. Are you going to sun? Are you going to snow? Last April, we went and visited my family in the Netherlands and Switzerland, and we had a beautiful, beautiful time in Switzerland. It was snowing, as you can see here. I thought it was amazing. Russ, on the other hand, was like, okay, I can tolerate this, but I'd much rather be on the beach. I absolutely love the change in seasons. He would be happy if it was summer all year round. So be sure to know what you enjoy. So like in these pictures, we went to Cancun and celebrated our anniversary. If there is a partner who only wants to go one place, know that now instead of later on. But also know that they are open and willing to do some of the things that you would enjoy, because all of us are not the same. I enjoy the change of seasons, so I thoroughly enjoyed our time in Switzerland. Russ, on the other hand, he loved the beach. Okay, number 13, in-laws. Okay, so now in-laws are such a great addition, especially if you have children, in helping raise them and just be part of a great extended family. And the most important part is when we have worked with couples who have struggled with their in-laws, if you are a husband and your wife is struggling with your mom, it's important that the husband talks with his mom. And the way we like to say it is blood deals with blood. Never put your spouse in the middle of a triangle like that. If your wife is having an issue with her mother-in-law, then husbands, it's up to you to work that out with your mom. Do not expect your wife to work that out with your mom. Okay, so blood deals with blood. Another thing I'm so grateful for is Russ and I have been deeply committed to taking care of our widowed mothers. And I can tell you that Russ went above and beyond for my mom. Unfortunately, she passed in 2016, but she was always taken care of, always, and dearly loved by him, and I'm so grateful for that. And that's our commitment with Russ's mom, is to take care of her and make sure that she wants for nothing. Number 14, traditions. How will you spend the holidays? How will you do birthdays? Do you expect over-the-top birthdays for your little ones? Are you fine with just having a cupcake and a candle? Find out what your expectations are, or rather your desires are, for birthdays, holidays, any sort of tradition, and very unique traditions. Make sure that you are on board with the expense of them. Make sure you are on board with the commitment of time to them, and as well as how much do you extend yourself to family coming into town and staying with you. Just make sure to talk through all of those traditions. And finally, number 15, what is your end game? What does retirement look like for you? Interestingly enough, for Russ and I, we don't plan on retiring. And you're like, okay, Danielle, you don't have a real job. And no, I don't have a real job where I get a real paycheck. We naturally will probably do more volunteering, but we will always be committed to a sense of purpose. I encourage you, if you are going to retire, what is your sense of purpose afterwards? So can you see why these 15 questions are so important to talk out? If you know, respect, and align yourself with your fiance and understand your positions, you're going to have a much more successful, deeply connected marriage than getting married and being surprised by some of your positions. So comment below, what is the one thing that you're like, I definitely need to talk to my fiance and get square about this? And for you married folks, how did you rank? Were there some that you wish you had addressed before you got married, or is there one now that you could turn to your spouse and say, let's talk about this, let's try to get on the same page? Let me know below. I'd love to hear from you. I also told you about one concept that you could do that could overcome most hardships in your marriage, and you're like, okay, what in the world could this be? And that is, be the kind of spouse you want your spouse to be. Yeah, be the kind of spouse you wish your spouse would be. So ladies, if you're interested in being mentored by me, there is a link down below where you can book a call. Let's jump on the phone and see if our program is right for you. If you liked this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and take a screenshot and share this out with your friends. The more you share it out with engaged couples and other married couples, the more that we can reach and pay forward the lessons we've learned and turn decades into days for other couples. If you missed last week's topic, I had polled several different women asking them for advice on what they wish they had known before they got married. You can see all of that here down below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.